Hello, Dr. Flight here. We're going to spend a little bit of time in this segment talking about product positioning. Product positioning is truly an outcome of marketing efforts and how the product is presented to a market and then how it is perceived in the minds and the thoughts of the actual consumer. So what we want to do is we want to bring a product to market, but then we want to position the market specifically in the mindset of our target audience. So one of the outcomes of the product positioning is the development of the product positioning statement, which clearly defines who our target audience is, what our product is, who our competitors are, and most importantly, what our product does to set it apart from others. Its differentiating features, and specifically we want to focus on why a consumer should buy our product instead of our competitors. That is when that's decided. That's when this is the phase in which that idea or concept is determined. So product positioning. As we continue in the product launch or pre-launch stage and we exit out of the development stage, part of the process is to identify how our product will be perceived by the customer. So as a directive from the firm, what we want to do is position the product in the mind and in the conscience of the consumer that we have chosen the product for. So we have a target audience in mind. Now what we want to do is make sure that the product is placed in their arena so that it makes sense for them. So we call this thing product positioning. And again, it's something that we've probably been thinking about throughout the product development process. We have certainly thought about it in the development stage when we're putting together the marketing plan for the product. And now what we're doing in the launch stage is we're actually putting into play how people will perceive our product relative to other products out there and the image that we want to try to create in our brand. So this involves differentiating our product or separating it out from other things or other competitors that the consumer is really thinking about in this product class. The original concepts of positioning is rooted in how we communicate our product's key advantages to the customer and ultimately how the customer sees the product when compared to others in the marketplace. And so as we think about positioning our product, what we want to truly focus on is what sets our product apart from others in the marketplace that consumers can think about. And then we want to sell our customer on those key differentiating points or components. So we ask ourselves as we think about positioning, who's going to buy the product, and that will be our target audience or what type of consumers we're thinking about. And we've talked about some of this earlier. You may be familiar with some of this already, dealing with, for instance, primary and selective demand criteria and so on and so forth. We also want to be very clear as to why they should buy our product and how best we're going to sell our product or make our claim. Okay, so again, who's going to buy our product? We think about, again, the new markets we're establishing through primary customers or primary demand, or customers that already exist, but for other competitors that we want to have use our product. So we want switching models. We want consumers to switch, especially in selective demand, and maybe consumers to rebuy or repurchase our product. So maybe our current consumers, but we want them to buy again, and so forth. We also take into account, again, from a segmenting perspective, who our customers are, and we recall the customer profile concept. So we think about customers who are, like in the segment and how we're describing them and who they should be. And we also get into this idea of scope And on the screen here is just everybody, no narrowing down, but we also have the idea that we might want to move from mass marketing to some type of a targeted marketing approach, or maybe a niche approach, or maybe even a one-to-one approach. So these are the considerations that we're thinking about as we position our product. If we are trying to position this to everybody, then that would mean that this product needs to appeal to everybody and have different characteristics that everybody would want in it. Okay, so, and that's sometimes very, very difficult to do, but this last point here, we really want to think about scope and whether we're in a mass market environment or niche or targeted or some type of a one-to-one environment. We've also got our different market entry strategies like depth or tailored types of strategies, or the breadth strategy. The breadth strategy is one where we take one product and we try to reach everybody with it. And so that might be one of the concepts that we're trying to hit on here. But at any rate, this is why we want to think about who we are marketing to as we thinking about positioning the product so that it reaches specifically who we want. Why should our consumers buy the product? Well, this is something that we've been thinking about all along. Ever since we talked about identifying an opportunity all the way to the concept test stage, we've been asking the question, why should somebody buy the product? And so the concept statement that we use in the concept test actually should say this. So we should actually, explain and think about why somebody should buy our product all the way through this process, and we should be able to express that in words. We did it in product use testing as well, and we asked things like, how likely would you be to buy this product if we marketed it to you after we described the product to the actual customer. Now, the reality is why somebody should buy the product typically falls into one of three reasons. It solves a problem for the customer better than anything else does, right? So it solves a major problem that current products do not. So that's something we call in product development, something called relative advantage. The new product has some new advantage that or does something better than other products do. So it's relatively better to use this product, and of course customers will certainly do that. In doing so, it meets the needs of the customers better, or it meets their preferences better. So they just simply prefer it better because maybe it looks nicer, or it's more current, or it's more trendy, or something along those lines. So it solves a major problem. It does it better than the competitors. It meets their needs, but it may also just be more aesthetically pleasing or more enjoyable to use and so forth. The last dominant reason people typically buy a product is price. Price is a huge motivator for consumers, and sometimes we'll even buy a product that doesn't perform as well, but it's less expensive. And if it's less expensive, then we can go spend money on other things that we otherwise wouldn't have the money to spend on, and we're willing to sacrifice a little performance for price. So this is the third major reason people typically buy. What we want to be able to do is describe in our concept test and our product use testing how our product does this. And what we're going to do is actually create something called a positioning statement, and we need to know why people should buy our product in order to create our positioning statement. So we need to know which of these, or in which way our product solves these types of problems for the customer. So how do we make this claim? We're going to do something called a positioning statement, which is a statement that actually is a guiding point for the whole rest of the marketing process and the launch process for the product. As we look at the positioning statement. It sets the playing field for the marketing development process, but it also describes what we should be doing moving forward. So we talk about the buyers here in a concept statement. So checking this out, we've got buyers in the target market, and what we'll often do is actually do a written profile to describe who the buyer is. So we'll describe in words, in written words, we'll describe who the buyer is and the target market that we're trying to serve. So this is like the customer profile concept. If we can write a customer profile, for who we're selling to, then that's the who. Then that's the who. And then who they should buy our product rather than others. So a lot of times when we do these others here, what we try to do is identify specifically who our competitors are, and we need to know what the competitors are good at and so on and so forth. So we have our market, and then we list who our competitors are, and then we have this thing because. So our buyers, our customers should buy our product, or we can describe our product. So they should buy our product rather than our competitors for some reason. It's cheaper, it's more efficient, it has more relative advantage, it looks nicer, it's trendier, it goes better with your lifestyle, and so on and so forth. So this because is super important. This is the reason why customers buy your product. This is the reason why you set your product apart from everybody else. This is what differentiates yourself from everybody else also. So when we do a positioning statement, there are actually 4 things that we're looking for. 1, we want to describe our buyers. 2, we want to describe our product. 3, we want to describe our competitors. And number 4, most importantly, we want to describe why the customer should buy our product and what differentiates it from everybody else. So there's actually 4 components to a product positioning statement. And so if you have all 4 of these, then it will guide you through the entire rest of the process. So now when we're talking about this 4th one and why they should buy the product, we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about this. Oftentimes we'll break this concept up into something called the feature, function, or benefit, and which of these 3 things are actually why somebody should buy a product. So a feature is an attribute that the product actually has. So it's something that the product has in it, or it has as part of it. It's a selling feature. The example here is a dog food, a pet food that has as much protein as 10 pounds of sirloin. Okay, so it's part of the content of the actual product. It is part of the form of the product, actually, is what it does. The function is what happens as you're using the product. So how the product works. So the working notion of the product is actually what it is. The shampoo that coats your hair with a thin layer of protein. So okay, it's a shampoo. It has protein in it. That's a feature. But what it does is it coats your hair as you're using it. So it's how the product works that sets it apart from other things. That's what a function is. It's how it works that sets it apart from other things. And then finally, the benefit. The benefit here, so what happens as a result of using the product. Okay, so there's a new toothpaste that saves you money. Okay, so the price is a feature, but the fact that the price is low is a benefit. It saves you money. Okay, and it also improves your sex life. Wow, okay, so it does that as well. That's a benefit. Okay, Miller Lite, it tastes great and it's less filling. So it tastes great and it's less filling. Those are 2 different benefits. Maybe it has a special filtering and maybe they use a special type of hops. Well, those are features right? Because that's what's there. But it tastes great and it's less filling are sort of the benefits that happen as a result of using it. Drano, the liquid plumber Drano, classic tagline used to be thicker, stronger, and faster. So it's thicker. That's a feature of the product. It's something. It's an attribute that's part of the product. It's part of the form of the product. It's stronger. This is how the product acts or how it functions in order to do the job it's supposed to do, and it's faster. That's actually a benefit because it happens rapidly. It happens quickly. It happens speedily. So you've actually got three things going on here that include a feature, a function, and a benefit. Okay, so attribute-based criteria are often things we think about when we're setting our product aside from somebody else's. Another example of feature, function, and benefit would be an automobile. Okay, so automobiles have two different types of transmissions, a manual transmission and an automatic transmission. When we're thinking about the two, why should I buy an automatic transmission? Well, the automatic transmission does not have a gear shift in it. So it's a feature. The feature of the automatic transmission is it doesn't have gears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in reverse, or however many gears you have, and it doesn't have a stick shift in the floor. It has some other mechanism in order to change the direction of the car and so forth. So it doesn't have that. The function is that it's automatically there's something inside the engine that automatically allows a clutch to work without you pressing a clutch, and it automatically moves gears from, say, first, second, third, and fourth internally. So there's a function inside the machine that you don't see that makes it work. And then, of course, the benefit is, well, it's easier to drive. It doesn't take as much thought or effort. Now, some would say it's not as fun to drive. That could be certainly true, but it's certainly easier to drive an automatic. And so for people just learning how to drive a car, it's a nice thing to be able to teach somebody how to drive a car that's easier to drive like that. Okay, so features, functions, and benefits are all things that we can think about that separate our product from a competitor's. Another way we can do this is by non-direct associations that we can make that impact our product and that customers would want. So attributes are verifiable. Attributes are things that people can see or see the results of maybe, or something along those lines. There are also things called surrogate product descriptors or things that we think about when we think about a product that could set it apart that don't directly relate to the feature, function, or benefit necessarily. So here's the deal. We're trying to create a perception for our consumers. So we can do some like, okay, here's the product and here's why it's different. But what about some of these differences that are more perceptual than anything else? So here's a whole list of surrogate differentiators that we can think about. One is non-pareil. And a non-pareil suggestion is that you should buy our product because there's nothing else equal to it, that we're the best, and that you should simply buy us because we're the best and nobody else can match what we do. Another idea is a thing called parentage. So we might have a strong brand for our company, and you should buy our product because of the lineage and history we have in producing that good. So for instance, you should buy this BMW microwave because BMW has a strong association with high quality products. Now maybe it doesn't have any association with the household appliances, but you should buy our product because of the lineage or the parentage of the company that's producing the good. So manufacturing is another way to think about this too. So you should buy the Swiss watch over some other watch because it was made in Switzerland, and people, like a lot of great watches that are produced in Switzerland. So the location of where it was purchased, or buy this German automobile because it comes from an area that's known for strong engineering in automobiles. So that's the manufacturer type of a thing. The target idea is if you have a product that's designed for a niche audience, so a small group of very, very closely homogeneously associated kind of consumers, people who are very similar to each other, this product was made especially for you. Therefore, you should buy it. So we took time to make this just for you. You should buy this. You should buy our product because it's the best selling, our rank. We're in the top 5. So that in and of itself should give you reason to buy our product. We have endorsements. We have experience. So we've been the longest producer of this product. So why wouldn't you buy our product? Because we have the most experience. Here's one. You should buy our products because it's similar to ones you already buy. Now, this, of course, is a very dangerous approach to use a competitor as an example of why you should buy your product. If you're trying to compare yourself positively to the competitor, typically we try to compare ourselves differently from our competitor. So this view of you should buy our product because it's very similar to what you already use lends the question, well, why don't I just use what I'm already using? So you have to overcome that hurdle, and so you're opening up potentially a can of worms by using this approach. So maybe you don't want to do that. And then one last one here is predecessor. Again, this is kind of like the experience example here, the experience one or the parentage one. You should buy our product because of other products you bought from us. This one will perform just as well or similarly to what you have already experienced. So those are some examples. We also have some further examples. Jaguar, Perrier water, there's none better than those. Chanel, Disney, Ralph Lauren, all produce long-term products. So it's like they have a history or knowledge of producing goods like that. Manufacturing, Budweiser is known for beechwood aging. Audi is known for engineering and so forth. Target audiences, airlines designed a class of products just for business travelers. Sure they do. We have a Vector, which is a type of tire that's known specifically for operating in wet conditions. So people, again, this is made just for you if you're driving in a rainforest or on the beach where it rains a lot or something along those lines. Hertz, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and others who claim themselves to be number one or can identify lists where they're ranked number one. That's kind of the rank order type thing. Endorsements by doctors or by celebrities, we certainly see those. Experience, so stress long use by satisfied customers. You know, customers have used us for years and years and years. We have years of experience of solving customers' problems. That's why you should buy our product. Again, we've got some examples for competitor examples here where if you use UPS, you can use FedEx. If you're happy with UPS, you should use FedEx and see how we're better or something along those lines. Kia used to be low price, low quality actually, but more so better quality now, still maybe a low price. We're just like our competitors, but cheaper or less expensive. Predecessor, if you like Hershey Kisses, you'll also like Hershey Hugs. There you go. Again, if you're thinking about like a product replacement or adding a flanker product to your product line, this might be something to do as well. Okay, so lots of examples of ways we can set our products away from another or differentiate our products from others as a function of positioning. So positioning, why we do it, to whom, and how. So the positioning statement is really what we use to describe that how. We have positioning by attribute and positioning by surrogate as different ways to do this. When we position by attribute, we're using the feature, the function, and the benefit as potential ways to describe the product. If we're thinking about positioning by surrogate, these are elements that aren't directly related to the product, but are more perceptual for the consumer to think about, and it's much more of a in your mind thinking positioning concept that's less verifiable, but very effective nonetheless.